go again. Thank you for joining us and listening to Bill and Teona Wine About the Region, where we talk about government and the politics behind it, nonprofit and the people behind it, business and the money behind it. Let's go T.
Okay, we'd like to thank you for tuning in to hear Bill and Teona Wine About the Region. If you have any ideas and topics, or people to interview for the show, or interested in advertising or sponsoring the show, message us on Facebook at BT Winery or email us at btwinery@gmail.com.
All right, now we want to go ahead and thank our man Paul Berry and the good folks here at WGNU 920 AM for the opportunity to talk to the community that we all here care about. We got our man Quentin over here behind the boards, does a fabulous job keeping us straight.
Yes, he does.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Quentin.
All right, we also want to give a shout out to Pascal. The Pascal Show runs on WGNU 920 AM from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. Check out his show. He is a crazy dude.
X. You the man.
X is the man.
Come on over here in my life.
X is
Come
the
on
man.
around.
Yeah, we're going to bring extra behind the camera.
Come on behind the First of all, he the man because if you guys saw our little infomercial, what it is?
Yeah, a little promo video. Yeah.
X put he did the doggone thing with that X.
Yes, he did.
Thank you so much. And this morning, my car stopped. X pushed my car for me too. So X is just not even X the man as far as this promo, but X pushed my car. And look, he went right back over there to work.
That's what I'm saying.
All I gotta say, I'm about to start crying this morning, but Bill had already told me this morning, like,
no
Teona,
tears, ain't no tears on
but
the
I'm like, I need my car. So my car stopped. So briefly after the show, I'll be trying to figure it out.
We gonna figure it out for you.
Thank you.
And thank you, X. X makes it all.
Love you.
He brings it all together.
Love you, X.
But I just want to know what you'll see is we're gonna make a little bit of a return to our roots today. We started out as Wine About the Region because we used to do the show in the evening time. So we had a bottle of wine to get our guests all loose, hopefully get them to say some things that they would normally say.
You picked the perfect day for this stuff,
It did just happen. It did just happen. So we
picked the perfect. I need a drink. Here.
So we ain't gonna go back to our roots today. We were thinking about it. Well, we don't want y'all to think we over here being alcoholics in the morning on a Saturday.
Yeah, we don't.
So we wanted to try to find something that was more of a daytime. So we want to get something that's more of a daytime type of drink.
So what are we
People have this for brunch and stuff.
What are we drinking?
We gonna call this an early brunch appetizer, I guess.
Okay. You
we
down?
We are having mimosas.
We having is that like a
mimosas?
Like. Okay. We have mimosas.
We have mimosas, which is
sure.
Orange juice. They say they suggest you use actual regular like fresh oranges, fresh squeezed oranges. We ain't gonna do all that.
Get out of here.
Yeah, we ain't gonna do all that.
What?
But you
ain't
can.
Been nowhere where they fresh.
You can use regular,
I'm gonna have to get y'all
Minute Maid orange juice.
We had he still got his glass. My son broke mine. So I wasn't he finna have his shiny glass and mine broke. I was like, look.
All right.
So it is what it is.
So we have orange juice. We have a dry prosecco.
And we have
which is a sparkling wine
that he won't put on his head.
I'm gonna put them on.
'Tis the season. We're
all
going
right.
into the Christmas season, and I'm getting in the Christmas spirit. So
all right,
we all got to put these on for every show until Christmas.
All right.
All right.
So
here
I know
we go.
T stressed today, so
please.
we gonna make sure we take care of T.
Fill it up. I don't care.
Quentin, is Paul gonna get mad at us?
You want some, Quentin? Quentin, do you want some? Pour Quentin some. Get Quentin a drink too. Sure, we are. I just need some.
Your car?
It's been giving me signs too, so I'm just hoping that it ain't gonna be that many.
And y'all drinking for real.
This is a sparkling.
So what that
this
means?
is a sparkling wine.
Now drinking for real would have been some gin and juice. If we
this is a sparkling wine.
That would have been if we was
All right. So we gonna calm T down over here since the car broke down. So she's all flustered about that. I had to go get her from up the street at the mobile because they broke down right up the street. So I had to go get her.
And we still here.
And we still here. We still here.
You the man.
But we got a lot to celebrate, which is why we figured we return to our roots today. We have a great guest in the studio, but we're gonna want to talk to you a little bit about who we have coming up over the next few weeks.
We got a good 20. We going into 2020.
Yeah, we're gonna close out the year strong, and then we're gonna start it up strong. So next week we'll have Miss Cori Bush on, who's running for that first congressional seat.
Yes, so she's giving out jobs for Christmas. She's paying people $17.
I know.
Wow.
50 cents an hour.
I'm about to get on some knocking. That's what I'm saying. I'm about to knock on the door.
I had to have her. I said, Cori, you're amazing. You're doing it. She said, look, Teona, we'll worry about the politics later. Right now, my people, I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to save lives, help mothers that don't have to have their gas off and their lights off. And that was me before. So I can appreciate that she is paying. Talk about a livable wage.
That's what I'm saying.
Talk about a livable wage.
You can actually pay rent.
Go get that bag to Cori Bush. Cori Bush, I think .org or just put a name in the search in the internet, and you'll find those jobs she's giving out. $17.50 an hour. We'll go get that.
All right, and the week after that, on the 28th, December 28th, we have Robert Parson, who is the 8th Ward Councilman for the city of Florissant, and he is what's his distinction, T?
The first African American elected in Florissant, guys. He was the first.
There you go.
African American. I think he was elected like in 20.
It's been a couple cycles ago. Yeah, I think
2016 or whatever. But he's doing his thing over there, and me and Robert, he let me manage his campaign. I always take my hat off to him. That
his campaign for mayor.
Yes, he ran for mayor of Florissant, and he was like, Teona, he allowed African American disabled woman to manage his campaign. So talk about being inclusive and diverse and make you feel like proud. He respected what I could bring to the table. So I will never forget.
And you know what? Parson. In a crazy way, we'll talk about this a little bit more when he gets on.
And then Bill helps us out a little bit. Oh yeah, he is.
He's kind of the reason that we even sitting here. We'll talk. Let's not even talk about that now. Let's tune in on 28. We'll tell you about that. He's kind of a big reason why we even here right now. Okay, so in 2020 we're gonna open up, and we're still waiting to confirm, but I believe should I go ahead and say? Okay,
because she's coming.
Okay, I believe we have Representative Rachel Prouty.
Oh yeah,
that's coming in, and we're also going to have our wonderful co-host Rasheen Aldridge that day.
Yeah,
he's committed to come in.
You kind of did Rasheen. He shows love.
Yeah, he does. Rasheen's the man. Just like Eli Gross said, Rasheen, you the man. Rasheen's the man. All right, and last but not least, we just want to give you just a taste of where we're going in the coming year. In our second show on January 11th in 2020, we have Miss Maxine Clark, the founder of Build-A-Bear Workshop.
Let me just say, and I'm gonna thank Bill for this, because a lot of times I get like, man, forget it. I don't want to be a part of that. They ain't listening to me. Nobody cares. Some of that little probably Debbie Downer that I have probably picked up from when I was younger or whatever. But Bill's always like, no, you need to be in certain rooms for certain reasons, and people listen to you. And Maxine Clark, I serve on a gala committee with her, so shout out to Maxine Clark for thinking enough of me, and shout out to Bill for making me continue when I feel like I'm sitting in a room with people like her and really didn't even know what that meant. So thank you, Bill.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the shout out. Right? You a bad chick. I just want you to know that.
You always said it. My car just broke down for crying out loud.
All right, it's gonna fire right up anyway. Bill and Teona, Wine About the Region, WGNU 920 AM. We'll be right back.
He will be back. That's good. Is this good off the segment for us to kind of do? Well, that's what we do. We crazy.
Y'all know I'm crazy too, so
so wait till you get in. It's gonna be
just FYI, we still live.
I know. It's okay.
Yeah.
I like to let people know.
I know. I ain't forgot.
You say I can't stand my boss. I can't stand.
Well, I love all God's children until they piss me off.
I try to love them all too, but sometimes. X be on. You have to bring X on in today. Forget you. X be doing the dog.
All right. So we still on 3.5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right.
That
okay.
means we got 3 minutes.
Yeah, we gonna have to light it up.
Like what?
What you lighting up?
Bill! We are live.
Y'all know my sons, but I know the
Like,
the line, like
play your music,
lighting up.
Bill. Play
I mean, that's all I know.
No. When I say
We
light it
light
up, I'm
it
saying
up.
like you said
Bill
last night,
ain't
we do
lighting
have
it
lots of
up.
questions.
Look, Chuck, he ain't lighting it
When I say light it up, I mean we might have to.
And I saw some of those, you trying to get me in trouble questions, but it's all
Cross
good.
it out.
Now you I answer.
She's cool.
I like I answer anything.
I hope he asks me. I ain't gonna ask you nothing you don't want me to ask.
But no, I know she can handle it. Here's the thing. It's one about the region, so I think we would be
It's still not. Just pick up outside.
advocating our responsibility if we didn't at least ask those things. How you respond to it is your business.
I mean, I'm gonna respond the right. I'm gonna respond
But see, and at the same time, we don't try to spring nothing on you.
When you
Nobody say
mimosas?
No. I'm trying to recover them right now.
What you was doing?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Probably jaywalking or something.
Still
Oh
at
my
damn
God.
clothes. You still hear nothing?
You golden boy. That's what they trying to say.
Donnie looks so sweet.
But
You
they
know,
trying
it
to say
remind
you're
me
not
of the
sweet.
weekend or something like that. The weekend.
The weekend
You know, he remind me
is
of.
not cute. He's cute. That,
But I'm saying his swagger though is kind of like he just want to start
I don't
singing.
know.
I might not. He was like he just want to start.
Oh, she said you want to
Headphones
sing.
over.
That's what you saying. He look like he could be on the video or something.
We make sure you let me and Daffney talk. We took a training class together. We are certified women's political caucus trainers for campaigns.
Yeah.
So if me and her wanted to, we could just go somewhere and just start training. Print our stuff down and just straight start I really want to try to do something like something.
I
like
think we should have
Berkeley
a
or
workshop. I think we should have some type of workshop or something with one of our organizations.
Yep.
I mean,
And
that's
go
what they're
ahead.
for,
Yeah. Go on and do the doggone thing. I told Dana that. I was like, you know what, we all just need, and we always have to go so far out for stuff. Like, we should just do something in Berkeley or Ferguson.
You said we got about 30 seconds.
All right, let's get it. I'm all happy now till the show over and then reality kicks in. I said, I'm all happy now till the show over and reality kicks in.
That's the way it works.
Man.
All right, but at least you got them also. And we got more.
I need the bottle. Can I just turn up the bottle?
Drink it up, drink it up.
We are back.
We're back. Hey.
Oh, all right. Well, we took up a lot of time in that first segment, but we want to. Oh, listen to her. We took up a lot of time in that first segment, but we do want to go ahead and get to our guest. And let me make a quick introduction.
This lady needs no intro. No.
No.
I'm just playing.
No more mimosa for you. All right. We're going to talk about opportunities for economic and community development in North St. Louis that many are not aware of. So we brought on an expert, and she is a consummate expert. Someone who has made her life serving underserved communities through various public and private sector roles. Today we have the Chief Opportunity Zone Officer for the SLDC, which is the St. Louis Development Corporation, Miss Daffney Moore.
Hey, thank you for getting up.
I know, right?
Thank you for getting up. I appreciate that. Tell us a little bit about your professional background.
Well, and I'll break into this. Like I can fill in a little of this because I know a little bit about her background. Daphne's been doing her thing for a number of years for the community.
I knew of you before I even knew you. And I told you that when I met you at the training. I'm like, oh my God, it's you.
All right.
I met a movie star.
Well, Daphne was a community development person in the city of St. Louis. I believe in the planning department.
Planning and Urban Design Agency.
Planning and urban design, and that's actually where I originally met her from, because I actually stole her away from that position when I was the chairman of the Berkeley Economic Development Sales Tax Commission, and we were looking for an economic development director for that. So we would, sent the job description out, and she was one of the people that applied and submitted her information, and we hired her away over to the Berkeley Economic Development Sales Tax Commission as our economic director.
Yeah.
And she was you over there with us for what, like a couple years?
Yeah, almost 2 years.
Okay. All right. And then she was looking, I think, for some greener pastures, and ended up going over to Delwood City Hall as the city administrator.
Okay.
All right, city manager,
Delwood.
city administrator, and Delwood, of course, is one of our entering suburban communities, sort of a smaller community. And I think you were working on increasing your bona fides in that space, and ended up going to East St. Louis to be their city manager.
It's my hometown.
Yeah. And I know you had a lot of work to do over there. Tell us a little bit about that.
I originally, when I was asked, I was like, I'm not sure if I want to do that.
Yeah.
Because I knew how much work it would be. But once I got there, of course, East St. Louis is home. I love it. And we were able to do a lot of good work in the time that I was there. We actually got 5 opportunity zones for East St. Louis. And we helped rebuild a lot of streets. We got the lights turned back on throughout the city.
Yeah, you need those.
We definitely
lights
need those. And so, we were able to, create programming, build strong relationships for the city, pass some good legislation to try to improve the quality of life for our citizens. And, we did a lot of good work. And we reduced crime by 41% when I was city manager. So we really did a lot of work in a short period of time.
Okay.
So.
And from there, you I believe there was a change in leadership in East St. Louis, and so you did some independent consulting. So you were working on a number of contracts, and you were like, if it ain't 6 figures, I ain't working for nobody. That's what you know. If it ain't 6 figures, I ain't working for nobody.
Don't be listening to
Listen to me. But anyway, so she was doing some consulting, and then I believe from there she must have had a pretty attractive offer from the city to come back and work for the city in this opportunity zone space.
Yes, it was actually the Rockefeller Foundation that actually the city applied for a grant, and the Rockefeller Foundation awarded them one of 6 cities, and here I am.
Okay.
All right. Well. The difference. I guess I don't expect you to know all the specific differences, but I hear about all these zones: opportunity zone, promise zone, economic zone. I hear all these things. What makes the opportunity zone, unique?
I think what makes it unique is that the opportunity zones. One is a federal program that was passed through the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2017, but it focuses on capital gains tax. So that means that there's money actually that cities can tap into through investment through that capital gains tax. Unlike some of the other programs that may not come with funding, this program actually gives you an opportunity to seek out funding for those who want to invest in opportunity zones.
Okay, well, are the economic zones for non-for-profit or for-profit businesses?
It's for anyone who creates an opportunity zone fund.
Okay.
So, or has a project that wants to invest into an opportunity zone area. So just about anybody, an individual, entrepreneur, small business can actually invest into an opportunity zone if they have capital gains tax.
And are opportunity zones in just St. Louis City or St. Louis County or both?
Both. The city has actually 27 opportunity zone areas. And I'm not sure how many the county has, but most municipalities within the county has opportunity zone areas, or at least one.
Okay. Well, for our viewers and our listeners, why aren't
city opportunity zones in the region handled by the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership, which is supposed to be, the partnership for the whole region and I guess sort of the economic development of the region. And I think I know the answer to that question, but make.
Well, I mean, part of it is the St. Louis Development Corporation applied for the grant to have a Chief Opportunity Zone officer, but the other part is that the St. Louis Development Corporation actually is our real estate arm, so it's in the proper place. That SLDC does the business arm as well, so most of our services are within that city scope, and we're working with city agencies, the mayor, and soon to be the alderman in those areas. So it's in the right place for what the needs are and how we can engage citizens. Because the partnership, while they do engage citizens on certain levels, we're trying to really be that boots on the ground engagement arm. So it wouldn't work within their organization for the city.
How did your position come about?
Well, like I said, the city applied for a grant, and part of that grant actually pays for my salary for the next 2 years.
And how were opportunity zones created?
They were created, of course, through the Jobs Tax Cut and Act of 2017, but basically it's designed to stimulate investment into distressed urban and rural areas throughout the United States.
Okay. Well. Okay. So stressed in urban areas in the United States. So, I guess we'll drill down a little bit further for me on that. Like, what is the purpose? I mean, is it helping to get investment for income producing properties, or for hotels, or is there investment opportunities for businesses or startups?
Yes, and yes.
Kind of like the same question, Bill.
But you can do a lot in the opportunity zone areas. You have to, of course, have capital gains tax. It has to be mainly in the opportunity zone area. So it's open for entrepreneurs, individuals who have projects, for developers who want to develop in those opportunity areas. So there's a wide range of things that you can do, but it is for mainly, and I say mainly because not every opportunity zone area is in the most distressed area of a city, but they are designed to help areas like North St. Louis, areas in Dutchtown, so that they can help revitalize. We know the problems that the city of St. Louis has on the north side and the need for redevelopment, so they are designed to help those communities.
Okay. I do want to speak a little bit to the politics of how this stuff sort of comes about in the first place. And the reason why I even raised this up is because I was in St. Louis County government when the promise zones were developed, and there was a lot of sort of tug of war around like what communities should be included in that promise zone footprint. Like, and I actually work closely with someone in the planning department who you're very familiar with to make sure that the communities that really needed to get that promise zone designation got it, and not include areas that maybe were more stable and didn't need that additional assistance. So I know that there's sometimes politics behind it. So tell me this: are there areas that are opportunity zone areas that you think should have been included, and areas that maybe you think did not need to be included?
Okay, that sounds like a sticky question.
Let me at first explain how opportunity zones came about.
Okay.
So the state, which is basically the governor, actually got to decide who got the opportunity zones. There were 609 low-income tract areas in the state of Missouri. 161 were selected. The city of St. Louis has 84. So the mayor did work to try to get as many opportunity zones as possible for these census tracts. However, it wasn't her decision. But what we did was got stakeholders together throughout the city, asked them to submit, because again, short time frame to get all this information in, and but We were able to get 27, which is pretty good out of 161 when you're talking about the entire state of Missouri. But we didn't have the final say.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess real quick, tell us who benefits from property opportunity zones, and we'll.
Well, the goal is for the community, developers, and investors to benefit. However, you know, we have to work hard to make sure all three of them benefit, and I can talk more elaborate about that.
No, we'll get further into that.
You
We'll get
know,
further into that.
thank you for being here. Is this my card? This is my card, girl. I got a card.
All right.
We'll be back,
Bill and
guys.
Tiana, WGNU. We'll be right back.
We'll be back.
Y'all cracking me up.
This
Being
morning,
trying to get me in
I
trouble.
cracked myself up. This morning, I cracked myself.
At least you knew it was coming.
You knew it was
Hey,
coming.
see the
I'm dealing
fro.
with you.
The fro.
You and this fro is not gonna
No,
work.
no, but
Oh, I'm
Did you put these on?
it's right here.
I'm taking these home. If you don't appreciate the bill, it's the holiday.
I know.
It's the holiday.
Somebody gonna mean me.
Bill and Tiana, give us a year. We're gonna do a big Christmas
Watch. I'm gonna be
blowout.
in one of those cat memes.
We're gonna do a big holiday. No, Bill and Tiana, we're gonna spread holiday cheer next year. Give us a
I'll
year,
put it on when I put my.
and we're gonna spread holiday. We see who ain't in the Christmas spirit, don't we?
Oh, they talking
And
about
then
shit.
look, my freaking car, and I'm trying to still stay in the spirit. It's like,
You getting this spirit?
glad I ain't bought nobody nothing for Christmas. That don't look like nobody gonna get nothing for Christmas. Sorry, Christmas canceled.
Girl, you miss.
Girl, please, I gotta
You gotta
figure
do
this.
what's most important. That is your Christmas present right there.
And it's so messed up, cause it's like whenever you see yourself getting ahead, come in. What do you do? I wanna just ask her. I'm trying to understand this opportunity zone stuff, but it seems like it's a lot to it. It seems like you understood it a little bit better going.
I mean, we can talk more about the
Yeah,
benefits
because
and
that's
stuff
probably
like
why
that.
I'm kind of like with the questions, because I don't even understand all this. Even when you send it to me,
I
I'm
don't think
like,
anybody understands it for real, but we working with it.
Well, how about you get on that? Just tell us about it.
so you want me to go on BT?
Go ahead, BT.
Go on to BT. 'Cause
BT.
I do BT every night, like flat out. Who was that?
That's what I'm gonna say,
Wasn't it
like 1 or 2 sentences.
Wasn't it like, oh no, with Brian? I'm like, where did you come from?
Brother.
Where did you come from? Brian Williams.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm like, where did you come from? You just came out the middle of nowhere. Came out the middle of nowhere. No, but this stuff it seems like important stuff.
Oh, it's
but-
important.
Yeah,
It's
and
important.
it's like, who
I mean,
gets
you
what
know what I was
money?
thinking? I'm gonna tell you this, and tell me what you think. What I'm thinking is, even though like right now we do an hour, what
We're
like
supposed to be doing 2 hours, but we not.
well no, we need to talk to Paul.
Yeah, I know, that's
Before we
right.
do
I
each
know.
event. But
Ching,
but,
ching.
but but no, what I was gonna say is like any guest that's willing. You know how like Bill Maher does like Overdrive, like he'll have his 1 hour show.
Oh, yeah,
but
then
then he
that round
continues
table,
if he still has more questions and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like we could, if you shut off the radio, we could just keep going and keep that running.
Right,
Yeah,
that's true.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
you know, just keep going.
And let it rip.
I mean,
I'll back up and give you 15 more minutes.
okay. I mean, so we can do it. What we can do is at the end we
You see
can
how I
close
did
it
that?
out. X,
Yeah.
you catching us? So what we'll do at the end when the radio show actually goes off,
We probably
we'll close
still
that out
stay
and
live.
we'll keep that running because we're gonna go ahead
Still be
and
talking.
talk some more.
We're gonna let
So
her
don't stop.
spit some of her Roxanne Shante rap music.
Roxanne. That's the only part I know.
We're gonna go ahead and let her hit it.
That's the only part. You ready?
Do I need to put it? This ain't working with my hat queen.
It's doing fine. It's doing
All right,
fine.
get ready.
Yes.
All right, you do you. B2.
Okay. Thank you. We're back.
We are back, and she making me put these damn reindeer
It is the season
antlers on.
to be jolly.
So I'm gonna go ahead
If
and do
you
that.
saw our little promo that X put together, it's just so Christmassy and jolly. So, Bill and Tiana, Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah or whatever you celebrate the way you celebrate.
Yeah.
We want to
Kwanzaa,
say
whatever.
that, yeah, we want to just say happy holidays.
There you go.
In Bill and Teona. So we back, and I get a chance to do me because that's just what I do.
Yeah.
All this opportunity zone and all this stuff we talking about. My next question is going to be, do you need to live in an opportunity zone to take advantage of the tax benefits? But I need you to go a little bit deeper than that. Like, okay, opportunity zones, and does African American districts suffer more than Caucasian district? Like, I really want to know. These are the thoughts. I'm like, okay, we talking all this elaborate, these zones, that zone. Is it your job to make sure that as an African American community, we ain't getting lost in the shuffle? I mean, he said do me.
No,
I'm gonna do me.
Well, I would say that I think that the city has made a statement by hiring me.
I would agree.
And I'm happy about that, but that's one job though.
But I'm gonna say, okay, that gives me a little hope, but still breaking on down.
Well, our focus is to focus on North St. Louis and areas of South St. Louis that really need the help with the opportunity zones. There are some areas like Cortex, the Grove area, who have projects, who are booming, but we have areas within the city that really need some TLC. And I think one of the reasons why the city hired me is because, SLDC hired me is because of my relationship with North St. Louis and the projects that were successful that I was a part of, and being able to rebuild communities like the city of Delwood. We helped rebuild after Ferguson. So having really that passion to go out, and they know I'm a fight for the people. I'm about the people, and I'm about inclusion and making sure that Black people have a seat at the table.
Good. And
that if you're developing in Black areas, that we have to make sure that Black people are benefiting from those areas, which is not a easy task. But I do believe, and I know from just speaking with the mayor and Otis, that they are wanting to make sure that North Side is a focus and is redeveloped, and that we are making sure the people are benefiting either through job creation, entrepreneurship, small business. So there's a wide range of things I've been tasked with.
Okay, and I guess just to piggyback on what T just asked, I mean, you've heard this just like we all have. A lot of times these big corporations with large, vast amounts of capital come into our communities, create these huge developments, come in, get all the revenue and all the profit from a business standpoint from it. Black people that live in those communities don't get to participate in those projects, and there are potentially issues like gentrification, just all sorts of issues that people in our community care about, and not being priced out of their homes.
That's a full question.
It's a lot of questions.
But one of the things I would say, you can't stop gentrification to a point. But I do think the good thing about North St. Louis, because we have so much land to redevelop, that there is an opportunity to develop mixed incomes. And one of my goals is, a lot of times we focus on gentrification as far as force out. Our goal is for it to be inclusive, and anyone that wants to be within the community, to figure out how do we keep our citizens in the community. And that's why we're trying to balance the jobs and the development at the same time, so that people will have a job within that community, that lives within that community, and that they can afford to stay within that community, which again is not an easy task. There are certain accountabilities that we have to put in place. There are certain things that we have to do to design these programs to make sure that there's citizen engagement, which I think we will do, because we have visitors who are on the ground trying to work with organizations and citizens to get their feedback, input, and make sure every time we talk to someone is saying that we're not trying to displace anyone, but we know displacement may happen, and how do we service those people to make sure that they can stay? But I can't guarantee that every single person that lives there will not be displaced. I can't guarantee that. But the goal is not to displace anyone.
Well, what kind of real estate or business projects are encouraged?
Well, we are looking at mixed-use development. Of course, there's a big housing need within the city of St. Louis. We probably need about 15,000 homes. And so, you know, the one thing this program doesn't do really is the single-family housing. So we have to be creative of how we would develop housing projects. But I think there's a way that we can do it. We want, of course, the north side needs hotels, commercial, grocery stores. There's a lot that is needed. So our goal is to try to push mixed-use developments within the city.
Okay, let me just to piggyback on that. Like, how do you go about receiving or finding these potential projects? Do like consortiums of investors come to you, or do you go after people?
There's a combination. Our goal, one of our goals, is to work with the organizations that are actually in the community to see how we can help them build capacity, maybe partner with a developer, work with small developers who want to develop projects but don't have access to capital. So one of the things that the opportunity zones do, if I have a great business idea, then I can pitch it to someone who has real money, because this is for real money. Like the capital gain, like, you know, the average person ain't walking around with, like, I got capital gains tax, but you know, I got stocks and bonds that I can sell. So this is I call it a rich people's program, but it's for people who have money who want to invest in these communities. And, you know, black communities and white communities and brown communities, there's a lot of problems depending on where you live. The rural communities ain't booming with economic development either. So I think that when you're looking at this program, we're competing with over 8,000 opportunity zones.
Yeah. So, Bill, is there ways that what she's talking about fits into the treasurer's office of my?
You know what? Potentially it could.
I'm just listening. This sounds like some of the same conversations that I've heard. And
well, that's interesting. So we've been talking to Vicki England, who's running for Missouri State Treasurer, and there are programs out of that office that assist, you know, business, business startups, multifamily developments, various things of that nature. There might be opportunities for us to pair sort of those
I'm always together. Looking for money, so if you have some money, you know, we're looking for money, because, you know, one of the things we really want to do is make sure that the citizens have some upward mobility. And the one thing that we don't want to do is, like you said, you know, we get these great businesses to come in, but the people are forgotten. And one of my things is I never forget about my people. So, you know, we are making sure that our community is included. And, you know, we have to focus on the region, even though, you know, I'm working in the city of St. Louis. We're probably going to spill over into Wellston, Lee May Ferry to try to help them as well. But if St. Louis succeeds, the region succeeds. And that's what my focus is. How do we succeed? How do we create jobs? How do we create decent housing? Not just, we often talk about low-income housing and affordable housing, but there's a need for just housing. Like, we have housing problems, and we don't have enough housing for the type of jobs that we're trying to bring into St. Louis. So we're looking at it holistically, but we are working to make sure that the technical assistance and funding is there for us to be successful.
Okay. Before we go to break, I do want to ask real quick, as far as the size of projects are concerned, because, you know, black people have money, and people in our urban cores, there's some people with money. I want you to give them an idea on sort of the low end, high end of sort of how these projects range in sort of value, monetary value.
Well, I think that it just depends on how you're going after the investment and how big your project is. So if you're a business and you need $1 million, that's a different type of project versus if you need $10 or $20 million, because there's not a minimum. But for people to invest in your project, it has to make sense. It's just not that I got a project, you know.
All right, but in theory, if they had $1 million project, they can be a part of this program. And
Yes,
get
he
capital
said wrap
grants.
it up.
Okay, all right. Don't
like
be talking to our DJ.
Yeah,
First he's cute, now you're talking to our DJ.
I'm sorry, Quentin.
Don't beat me up.
I love you, Quentin. I know he over there like, what?
I told you I'd be acting up.
I had to learn.
I told you I'd be acting
Bill
up.
started telling me just let him handle all that women.
I know. I knew the music was coming on, but I just had to get one bad act in. I'm done
I
now.
don't even care. Like,
I'm done.
I'd be like,
I'm done.
he'll tell us when to shut up. It's like,
People like,
whatever.
Well, no, it's easier if just one person is doing
It is.
Look,
It always
the lady
is.
that took the girl from Texas that took the class with us, she liked it. She's watching us. Remember Jennifer?
Yeah.
I sent Bill a picture. Right, she watched it. It was like we was only like 4 of us.
Actually, want to get down on this?
No.
XD acting.
He like the way my
now,
it's morning.
Brandon.
He like he tired.
Well, these are mimosas.
These are mimosas.
Mimosas.
I want you to say them as
Drinking
breakfast.
fancy.
I gotta go to church and play piano after this. I'm not gonna be.
We drinking fancy. Fancy.
I was gonna go into old Negro spiritual now.
Right. That one. You gonna want this turn?
All right. Well, we only gonna have about 10 minutes.
Okay.
If we might not.
Minutes.
I think
It
we're
went
doing.
too quick.
Okay. Well,
You guys have more time. I'm gonna take you all the way to 59. As soon as 59 hits, I'm playing the club, the music.
Taking
So
us out at 59.
no, I'm starting once the music starts at 59, you guys of course have a minute
Okay.
to get out.
Yeah. So I'm not
Can we
gonna motion
get
to
Yeah, you're not gonna motion to me. Once
I'm not
that music
motion to-
starts
when the music
59, you know
starts,
y'all gotta
that's
wrap
the
up and get out.
Gotcha.
All right. So where we start? Where you want to start?
I want. Did you get that picture?
I don't think I got that picture. You better send me that picture.
This is what girls do.
I know, but do
Okay, so I really want to ask her. It was something. Hold on. Yeah, I do want to ask about the real estate, and I do want to say about I would like for her to break down gentrification and what it is. Can she explain that? Would that take up too much time, or? Because a lot of people don't even know what it is.
Okay, how about you hit those two? You take us. You bring us in. You hit those two.
Okay, so hit them back to back, and then you'll take it from there. Cause if I don't work, can people find more information? I guess that's good. Just in case
Just
people
send your
need to.
website.
That's a quick answer. So see, maybe we can get
Yeah,
that one.
let's go ahead. Let's take that out. Like those out.
Maybe she can just say it, and we don't have to ask. She could just figure out. And if you want this, you took out the wrong one.
What?
This was at work people find, and then how much work with other regional organizations. You don't
How
want
much
to
you
ask.
work? I mean, we only got a few minutes left.
Okay.
We gonna
All
work
right.
through this right
All
now.
right. So I'll come in.
And then
what
I'm gonna shout out her event too. So.
Yeah.
What is
St.
it?
Louis Cares has an event today. I'm volunteering. That's why.
Oh, great. You put it on now? Like when
Well,
you-
I actually am going to eat, and then I'm gonna go.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's
Okay,
what
so
it is.
you hit those two things. I might hit.
You talking to me?
Yeah.
You? No, him. Everybody's talking to me.
Okay.
I can't walk and chew gum.
You hit those two things.
Yeah, so I'm gonna come in with and I'm gonna ask my two back to back, right?
Yeah.
And
All right, I think we're about
then
to
you
do
got it for the rest of the Sunday.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, most of it, but I mean, keep reading because you're in here too.
We're back.
We are back
We are back on this rainy day.
with Daffney Moore.
If you're in your bed on this rainy day just watching us, you're lucky because we had to get out in the rain.
Yes, we did.
All right. Stephanie.
Yes.
What kind of real estate or business projects are encouraged?
Well, of course, we want to see entrepreneurship projects, but we also want to see the small businesses that are actually in the community if they are looking to expand, for that to happen. And also, like I said, we need a lot of commercial, retail, grocery stores. So we're really looking for just about everything to rebuild. Manufacturing, looking at how we can continue to be a transportation hub. So multiple things.
And is this city concerned about further
gentrification of neighborhoods, and I would really like for you to go into this is what gentrification
Go into
is,
detail.
and just
Well,
A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Well, gentrification to most people means that white people are moving in and forcing black people out in this region. Part of gentrification is that there is the property value normally ends up being raised for the people moving in. That normally does not happen for the people that are already living there, and the taxes end up going up, making it kind of unaffordable for those who are on a fixed income or are in low income situations, that they can't really benefit from the economic development moving into their area. So our goal is to try to kind of balance that through different ways, and we're trying to still come up with how we can do that in an equitable way, so once this community is redeveloped, that we're not pushing people out.
Okay. All right. Well, I've read a little bit about opportunity zones because they're all around the country. I know that earlier this year, there was concern that opportunity zones weren't taking off, that investors weren't really going after them. And I think part of that might have been that the regulations around the tax consequences of it hadn't been finalized. Where is the federal government? I guess the HUD secretary and the Department of HUD. Where are they on that process?
Not the HUD secretary that's over the regulations, it's the Treasury Department.
Okay, that's right.
And so it's a work in progress. There are issues. There's still some concern about how people benefit. And I think that at some point the opportunity zones will be expanded, changed a little bit to make sure that it's working and that people can really invest. A lot of the regulations didn't come out till April. They're still trying to work through some provisions that are supposed to come out this month. So because of that, people are hesitant to invest in some of the opportunity zones. However, if you got real money and you really are interested in helping communities,
what's real money?
Real money is like $100 million. You got it. You like, I want to invest in something.
To all my ladies out there, I definitely do not have real money.
So, I mean, if you have that type of money, if you got $1 billion, now you can do some things and not even worry about it.
If you got $50,000,
I mean, that's probably not going to. You probably don't have any capital gains taxes.
So go somewhere and sit down. Everybody.
Well, no, don't go somewhere and sit down. What you can do is create a pool and you can create your own fund by investing with a group to get a development.
Is that something you can help people do? Let's say,
like
for
all
instance,
these
some of our
people,
people,
all these steak and shakes.
I can
at least
assist
direct
or
them,
guide,
because let's say there's some people out there that have $10,000, $20,000, and they know 10 other
you can get a
people
steak and shake.
that's
Buy
got
my house. So
she owns some steak and
well,
shake.
I'm just saying, no. Is that part of what so 5 and 5? You saying people need to put their 50,000?
No, any amount of money that if you pull it together, and it produces where you can actually do some development or a small business. I would say we are trying to provide some technical assistance to people who are interested. How it will look
would be great.
How it will look, we're not sure, but we are trying to form some working groups to find solutions of how we can get smaller investors, neighborhood groups involved into having their own opportunity zone fund.
Okay, so I read an article actually just Thursday. Chris Krameyer was doing a Q&A in the St. Louis American, and he basically said that opportunity zones can't help the work that he's doing, and so I guess I just want to get your take. I guess for me, the way I look at it is that opportunity zones are just another tool in the tool shed. It's just another thing to help these communities. And yeah, you need the direct investment.
It's exactly what you said. I can't speak to what Beyond Housing model is. I think that depending on how you design it, it can benefit. But it's going to take more than one funding source to help rebuild a community. And I think depending on your model, it may work and maybe it won't work for some people.
Okay. And let me, we just have a few more minutes. Let me ask you, what if a project is close to an opportunity zone, but it lies, maybe just adjacent or maybe just down the street? are there opportunities for folks? And I have that issue because I do some consulting work. I have that issue right now with somebody that I'm working with. It's just outside the opportunity zone by like a block.
Depending on where you are located, if you're right across the street, there is a percentage that you could benefit from our opportunity zone, and I think they're trying to change some of that legislation so that they can make it more attractive for people across the street. But I would say is if the other side of the street is being redeveloped, it actually helps you make your case if you're looking for access to capital, and then looking at other incentives that the city offers. So there's ways to make things work if you're not in an opportunity zone.
Okay.
I'm curious about your this and then your personal question. What you gonna do?
We gonna get to that.
Don't do that today. Don't do nothing to Daphne.
I'm gonna do something to Daphne.
Be nice.
But no, I do want to thank Daphne for coming in. But I want to go ahead and give a shout out to an event that she's going to today, and hopefully she can give us a little bit of background on this. It's called Jump Shots Over Gunshots, and that's today's from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. You want to tell the folks about that real quick?
Okay, I'm volunteering, so if you want to come volunteer, it's basically, trying to give another outlet to young people to do something positive versus being out in the streets. So basically, it's an event where they'll be doing multiple things and playing a little basketball.
And
as well.
you texted to me, so we'll go ahead and post it on our website. Where's it going to be at?
It's going to be at Vashon High School.
Vashon High School from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. today. So if you can get out there, go check my girl out. All right. I'm going to hit you with this.
I'm just going to hit this.
The personal question. And if you watch the show from time to time, what I like to do, especially with people that I have a relationship with, I like to get in their business, get in their head. We're going to hit them with the personal question. Because we want folks to be, feel a little bit closer to you. Your personal question. How many times a year do you change your hair?
As much
Every
as
time
possible.
I see you.
You never ask a black woman that.
Every time I see
You
you.
never ask a
I
man with reindeer
just
ears on your head.
Do my hair, first of all. But I try to keep them guessing. You can't have the same
You
hairstyle
have to be
as a black
someone
woman all the time.
different.
You gotta change it
I
up.
change into someone different whenever my love wants me to. If you want blondie, I'm gonna be blondie. All right. Thank you for joining us today, Daphne, and good luck.
All right, thanks so much. We appreciate
It's
that.
your turn, Rudolph.
All right. All right. We want to go ahead again and thank Paul Berry and the great folks here at WGNU 920 AM for putting up with us for one more week.
Again, we want to thank our listeners for tuning in. We're going to continue to whine about the region. We're back whining and whining.
Yes, we
mimosas,
are.
Because we care. If you have any ideas or topics or people to interview for the show or interested in advertising or sponsoring, message us. Share our show. We need you guys to help share our show.
Do it.
Especially if we share yours.
Do it.
We're the what? Hit it. We are the solution.
We are the only solution to improve our community.
He sound like Barry White out of Secret Garden.
Yeah, baby, yeah.
Barry White at that.
Billy Teona, What
all
About
right,
the
once
Region,
again. Thank you, guys.
WGNU 920 AM. We will see you next week.
We'll see you next week.
Go ahead.
Now we
Yeah, you
continuing.
go ahead.